The cheapest way to get into coding right now costs $499, and it all starts with a MacBook Neo.
It recently released the MacBook Neo, bringing more people into the Apple ecosystem at a lower price point.
Tech has recently been held back by cost of RAM and storage, but this machine sidesteps that problem almost entirely for new users, and Apple will back it up with major macOS updates for the next 5 to 7 years. But how did I land this? Let me show you exactly how I've been using this. The Neo, its biggest problem will be that it's got a mobile chip, and you will feel it immediately. I mean, of course, if you want this thing to completely freeze on you, use Docker, open Chrome, install OpenClaw, run a Gemini 4 mobile model, and it'll take about 5 minutes for it to answer the most simple prompt. Hello. This here is my current usage with all of these apps open. This is my development workflow that is pretty much non-usable at the moment because I've been pushing this laptop quite a lot, and I have a Docker container currently running. That actually, let's open Chrome. As you can see, it takes a bit of time. Let's open a tab. With all those tabs open, let's go. Let's write localhost. Takes time. As you can see, the machine is quite struggling, but this is a little app that I've been building for my home lab. And this app allows me to take a look at some telemetry. I can go to the terminal right here, and this is all very cool stuff. You know, it's kind of slow, to be honest. This is one app that I've been kind of coding with the help of, and my cursor is slow. My God, Manus AI. So I've been using this app to sort of interact with my GitHub and my development machine and whatnot. But yeah, as you can see, this is the most you can push this machine for development purposes. This is all very resource intensive for this A18 Pro chip, and it's a device that gets paired with only 8 gigabytes of unupgradable unified memory. And now it sounds like I'm just complaining about it, I know, but I'm not. I'm positioning this product for those who will truly benefit from it. And the list of complaints for me only cap at battery could maybe just use some more juice. Display is small, not enough brightness, and the glare can be annoying due to that brightness not being punchy enough. And that's where I'll leave it at. But remember, you are paying $499 as long as you get this on a student discount. Because to me, this is the best laptop for your average consumer and for the majority of students out there. You see, I'm a computer science graduate and I studied software engineering for a while. But prior to that, I was studying mechanical engineering, and I actually fell in love with mechatronics, where I actually had some computer engineering classes. And all this stuff is what made me fall in love with coding and hardware, which led me to want to study software engineering. However, at the time, the only way for me to really get into programming was by buying a MacBook. And the prices of those things were about $1,000 to $100 Canadian. But it was the best way for me to get into coding, especially iOS development. And looking at this right now, I feel like that changes everything for you guys. Because for 500 American dollars, you can very much get a MacBook Neo for that. MacBook Neo will give you the ability to discover this new world of development. Coding is not what it used to be back when I was in school, but the fundamentals don't change. And you can use this laptop to learn things like the terminal, an important tool commonly used to run code, install packages, deploy apps. Git is also a tool that must be learned and goes hand in hand with the terminal as well. Learning some basic navigation commands also won't hurt. Learn about package managers, process management, working with files. I use it a lot to SSH into my server so I can remotely connect to my Ubuntu home lab in order to control it. And this is where you'll start discovering the world of backend development. This is how browsers, servers, and APIs talk to each other. This usually goes hand in hand with some form of front end, a lot of the times living on the browser or on a phone, like the iPhone, where apps are often coded by using a tool like Xcode. All of this on a laptop that you can use for your everyday tasks. Very quick demo of Xcode. Okay, I'm gonna kill all my services first because I have way too many things running, especially Docker. Let's stop all that. And I'm going to start closing some of these tabs that I clearly don't need. As you can see, it's a bit laggy. Like VS Code right now is being a bit laggy. All right, and I'll close that. I'll keep this all closed as well.
and I'll keep Manus, Codex, ChatGPT open. That's fine. Chrome has a bunch of tabs. This web app is not running anymore, and then this is all good. Now we are on Xcode. Xcode can be a tiny bit slow depending on what you're doing, but other than that, it's still really good to use in order to learn iOS development in general. And you can build a project pretty quickly. Right here it's building this tutorial I was following to get back into iOS development, and right there it's kind of doing it. But yeah, you can see you can change files pretty quickly, go back and forth if you need, and it all works pretty well. If you just, you know, try to write anything, pretty much you have IntelliSense that is pretty quick right here, and then you can just go ahead, you know, and choose whatever you want, whatever you're coding, whatever statements you need. The experience is not as flawless as a MacBook Pro. That's what I'm trying to get at, but it's still pretty good to learn and to understand iOS development because it takes quite a bit of time. Right here it's installing on my device, on my simulator. As soon as you start playing with simulators, you'll see that it takes quite a bit of time for the sims to load, and the machine might be getting a tiny bit slower. But other than that, it's very, very workable. It's a great machine to learn this stuff. By the way, I love how thin and like light this is. It's crazy. It is an extremely easy computer to just, you know, throw in a bag. Like, I'm not really scared of hurting it. The chassis is tremendous. And check this out. One hand opening is incredible. See that? Two different surfaces too. Like, it's pretty good. And there's very minimal wobble in my opinion. I don't know, I just find it crazy that for $500, this is what you get. Look, barely any flex on the chassis. Crazy.
Because I've been testing it quite a bit recently, I've integrated this into my life. I love this silver aluminum chassis. I love the curves and these new edges. The most reassuring thing is how easy they made it for it to be repairable. Taking this thing apart, I mean, it just takes 2 seconds, and you'll notice how components, they were placed within modules in order for them to be easily swappable.
Talk about engineering right here. This is probably a CNC machine piece that is part of the trackpad. Now, because of that piece, this little button, that little button allows for the trackpad to be clickable all over its surface, which is insane. And the really cool part about MacBook Neo, from what it looks like, is that you can really take it all apart and very much replace the components that are not working, making it very much repairable.
Also, typing experience has been phenomenal for the price. I mean, I get that the computer is small, and even though the inside edges are sharp, they don't dig at all on my wrists. Plus, my watch or other wearables actually don't interfere. The trackpad, well, takes a few days to get used to because of the clicking mechanism I showed you guys. Coming from Windows, it's light years ahead, and then coming from a MacBook haptic trackpad, it's not as good, but the effort you need to press anywhere on this surface is so minimal, and they really do try to mimic that haptic feel mechanically. Really, the only issue is that screen brightness could be better. I really do think it needs more. I mean, sometimes while trying to run projects, I get closer and closer to the screen because it can get hard to see in bright spaces.
By the way, the base model MacBook Neo doesn't come with Touch ID. In fact, I would avoid spending the extra cash on this. Like, if you have a bit of extra money to spend, I would spend it on storage.
This video is sponsored by Anke Studio. If you want to replicate our photography, guys, we are now selling our mobile and camera presets. Every purchase you make supports us, and genuinely, we are trying to build our own private car dealership business. We want to evolve and keep giving tech life and bring you guys on bigger adventures. If you're interested in making your pictures go from this to this, head to our Gumroad link down below, and if you enjoy them, please don't forget to leave a rating. Enjoy the show. Look, just to give you an example, okay, an AI model can take about 10 gigabytes of storage. Luckily, you won't be downloading those because, well, the MacBook won't be able to deliver. But as you master JavaScript, you learn about React, then you hop on TypeScript, learn Node, use Docker containers. Your interest will grow, and at some point, this will cap for you. And it's not because project files are big, no, it's because the big concern on a 256 gigabyte MacBook usually is everyday stuff. Code is tiny, a whole project might be 1 to 2 megabytes, but it's the tools that are actually massive. Xcode alone eats 12 to 15 gigabytes, Docker images stack up fast, each project's node modules can be 200 to 500 megabytes, and if you're running simulators or virtual machines, you're looking at another 20 to 50 gigabytes gone. Plus, build caches from npm, Gradle, and pip grow silently in the background without you ever noticing. The reality is that a developer's machine can easily have 100 gigabytes consumed just by tooling, but then comes all your personal stuff, right? Which is what tends to take quite a bit of storage. However, by the time you get to that point, the goal is for you to have developed skills good enough with a MacBook Neo to position yourself in a way that you can easily start affording a proper upgrade, because coding is a skill that can genuinely earn you good money. So yes, everything will boil down to unified memory before storage. This is something I actually see a lot across 3 different workflows I have going on. My server setup by using an AI agent such as Manus, my small little coding project with TypeScript called HomeLab Control, and my effort as I try to get into hardware programming again. To add to this, you can easily take an Xcode project, follow a great tutorial to learn Xcode, iOS development, and programming fundamentals. The experience will be slightly a little choppy, but nothing that hinders the learning experience, I guess. I mean, IntelliSense works really well, and at the end of the day, going through code and files will be totally fine. I think the Neo is very much able to do that for you if you want to code apps. But for me, it's a machine I use a lot with Claude, Codex, and Manus, AI agents that run on the cloud, AI agents that allow me to interact with my GitHub repo, create apps on their own environments, work on them locally on my laptop if I need to, and run them either on the Neo or on the server as I SSH into them. The Neo, aside from a learning tool, can become a tester machine before projects become too complex, and usually things will start to cap at unified memory, because at 8 gigabytes you are going to start borrowing from storage. So check this out, I've got the MacBook Neo running this entire web app locally, and I'm using Docker in order to, start up the project. And it's really cool because you can clearly see CPU usage, memory usage, disk usage, uptime. You can see so many things within this dashboard. Like, take a look at it. Pretty freaking cool. Now, I am still trying to fix a few minor things, and Manus is doing that for me. I just find it crazy that with this little machine, you can get so much done. Actually, you know what? Let me open a new window right here, and let me take a look at some of the telemetry for the Mac. With all the things I've got going on, RAM usage is not too bad. CPU usage as well. But look, it's really quick at doing stuff. Let me git pull this, bam, then I can go ahead and just Docker compose down, just removing it, bam bam, and then we can go ahead and restart that. Look at that. Yep, that is pretty cool. And I can just go ahead, and once this finishes right here, I can go ahead and restart my app, and now my terminal works, because that's what I just fixed. Awesome. Here goes the big question. Battery life for MacBook Neo, depending on what you're doing, can either run you 3 hours or 8 hours. The other day, I started programming my Atmega chip on a breadboard. Now, it's been a while since I haven't done any hardware stuff, so I followed a tutorial with volume all the way up, brightness all the way up, a few Chrome tabs opened, some apps running in the background. So at 2:45 p.m. I had about 56%. I spent the next almost like 3 hours just working on this project, asking questions on GPT, reading pins. I ended up putting a podcast in the background, using the Arduino IDE and troubleshooting my breadboard, and eventually I actually got my program to run on my little chip. It was an incredibly smooth experience on the MacBook Neo, no lag or anything like so, and unified memory, well, I was pretty satisfied with its consumption. I really haven't done hardware programming in a while. It's actually been since my engineering days. This stuff is like building Legos, man. It's so freaking satisfying. Now, it's currently 5 p.m. and
Let's see. Battery life is at 18%. With all the things we've been doing and all the apps I have open and the podcasts have been listening up until this point, we got...
Hey, disconnected.
We consumed about 40% in 2 hours and 15 minutes. So to be fair, you can get between 6 hours with a workflow like this, a very light programming work. But there's a bit more to this story as I've been using this for quite a lot of things.
Overall, with all the things I've been doing, you can expect 4 to 6 hours of use if you're intensively using Claude, some Chrome tabs, Terminal, VS Code, Docker, and so on. The less you do, the more hours you will get, obviously. And the lighter the workflow, the better the battery life, which is why for school, this could be just perfect at 7 to 8 hours of use. This is what you get for $499. Now, show me a Windows laptop that can do all of this at this price point. I can't recommend this enough.